Hi everyone, Heather Lou here from Closet Core Patterns, talking to you about our May pattern for crew, our monthly pattern membership, the marble shell. People love sewing tops. So whenever we're asking people what patterns they want, they're like, I want more top patterns. And I was like, more top patterns. How do you like reinvent a top? How do you reinvent a shell, right? And a shell being that kind of lightweight layering piece that looks really great under a sweater or under a blazer, or you can just wear on your own. And how we kind of tried to reinvent that this month is with some really interesting seaming, playing with bias versus not bias, and just really beautiful details. I think you guys are going to love this pattern. I think it's going to be so fun to sew for you. And you're going to be using some different details and techniques that you probably haven't used before. And then the final result is this, I think, just exquisite top. I'm biased. Can I call our own patterns exquisite? I don't know. I think it's exquisite. We've got this really beautiful neckline that is almost asymmetrical, kind of ends in a point. And then you have a seam line that extends down from that point, down the shirt. So we've got this really nice top stitch seam here. And then this panel here that ends in a point is cut on the bias. So this is all cut on the traditional grain line, and then this is cut on the bias. And so it's got this beautiful drape and movement that I think is so pretty. And it just gives a little bit of like shape and volume and dimensionality to this top. And it's sleeveless, but I don't think it's quite sleeveless. It's like sleeveless, but somehow looks like it has a sleeve. So it almost appears short-sleeved, even though it's just really the fact that the shoulder seems quite long, and then as it extends and drops down, it gives you the effect of this drop sleeve. The neckline is finished with a facing, although of course if you like doing it with a bias, little bias binding on the inside, you can do that as well. And then the armhole, which you can see here, very beautiful round shape, is finished with either a facing, or again, if you prefer a bias binding finish, you can always finish it with that. But we just think that the shape of this armhole is really, really beautiful. Really pretty sample that we played with color blocking because of all these seams. We wanted to do kind of like a neutral tone on tone color blocking. So we've got gray, this kind of natural, and a cream. This is all linen viscose from Core Fabrics. And then we also, this is a good opportunity to show you this really pretty back seam that ends with this really deep faced hem. It's almost 4 inches. And then it has this really pretty slit. And so you're starting to see this kind of design language repeat. So we have this opening here. And then when we turn it this way, you see the hem comes, it angles up, and then it dies into the front hem, which is just a turned and folded hem. So we have all of these kind of interesting angles and almost like geometry to this pattern that I think is really interesting. And again, it's this kind of simple shape, but then how do you make it interesting with all these seaming and design lines and cutouts and shapes? This pattern just has a lot of different techniques and finishes that I think are really fun to sew, especially if you're kind of more on the beginner level. I think you're gonna get a little bit of exposure to some different techniques kind of all in one package. We've got facings, arm facings, neck facings. If you want to sub those in with a bias bound finish, you can. We've got a little bit of top stitching. We've got sewing curves, and we've got all of these intersections of face versus just folded hems. And so again, just lots to do, lots to sink your teeth into. And again, such a fun opportunity, not only for color blocking, but also here you could see we used a stripe fabric. And so the stripes running vertically, when it's cut, because this piece is cut on the bias, we get this beautiful, almost chevron or angled effect. So if you have any stripe fabrics that you would like to experiment with, you could even switch the direction on the back. So maybe you have them running this way. This is always a fun opportunity if you're playing with a fabric like that, whether you're color blocking or playing with print or stripes, is to print out the tech flat, the drawing of it, and draw in where you want those stripes and how you want that to look before you kind of go to cut out your fabric, and that's going to indicate what direction you need to be turning your pattern pieces into. So speaking of fabrics, we do have kits for these pattern for the marble shell at at Core Fabrics. So if you want to recreate either of these samples or any of our samples, you can do that. What we're recommending for this pattern are really drapey, supple, fluid fabrics. I think that's how you get this really beautiful shape. If you wanted to use something that's a little bit more crisp, I would say a voile or a batiste or something on that really light level would work. But really this is an awesome opportunity to work with viscose, with silk. Anything that's got a nice drape is going to work really, really well for this pattern. And don't forget, it's also a great scrap buster. So if you've got similar fabrics in your stash, maybe you got a 1/4 yard here, a 1/2 yard here, but they all have that similar drape, this is an awesome opportunity to kind of put them together and then not have to buy any fabric whatsoever. So marble shell is our crew pattern, May 2024. We've got some helpful content to help you sew it if you're needing a little bit of help. And as always with crew, you can jump in and out. So if you just want to come in for the month and grab marble, you can. However, if you want to join at our unlimited annual level, you get our entire back catalog, you get the next 12 patterns, you get to participate in our capsule wardrobe that we're building this year with our stone collection. Right now, I am wearing these with my onyx pants. This was our January pattern. And everything this year is really designed to kind of mix and match with each other. So it's a really fun kind of wardrobe building exercise. And it's so much fun in our community. It's just this really awesome, supportive online space that is not on social media. And you can either just share like short posts, or almost write like a long detailed blog post, and you get this feedback and encouragement from our community, which is so awesome. And additionally, with Unlimited, you get access to our fitting room, where Gabby Brown, who is an industry fitting expert, is on hand every week to answer your fitting questions. So it doesn't have to be a crew pattern, doesn't need to be a closet core pattern. Anything you're working on, if you're struggling, you have a fitting expert who is there to help answer your questions. It's such a cool feature. We're so excited to offer it this year. And then of course you get discounts to closet core patterns and core fabrics, including 15% off our fabric kits every month. So it's just a great deal. It's a great environment. We're really excited this year. We think you're gonna love this pattern. Actually, I know you are, and I can't wait to see what you make with it.